and today's discussion we're going to compare being a Magic purist, only using cards and nothing else, or coins and just nothing added, nothing extra, no gaffs of that nature, versus the advantages of actually using gaffs or something extra. 3 pros to each side, and ultimately we open a discussion to which the trade-offs of each and your personal preference. So with that said, let's roll that intro. So to jump right into it, there's, I try to simplify into 3 pros of each and really giving the best highlights of gaffs. And you could always add more in the comment section what your preference is. Me, myself, I am, just real quick, I am a little bit of a mix. I tend to use gaffs where it really, really needs to be, just in a couple effects. WoW being my favorite, and then the use of thumb tips and a couple others, but not so much. It's a lot of purism in my work, as you see what I've published in the past. But to go right into the pros of each, and I just really wanted to go, I just get so excited over it. The pros of being a purist. One advantage, and then we'll start being a purist, and then we'll jump right into gaffs. So the pros of being a purist is not ever having to worry about the gaff in multiple respects. I know this could be, for some people, a thought in the back of their mind. I have to think about it. And I also wrote, and this doesn't apply to all the gaffs out there. This is just maybe for certain effects, or one in particular that's on the entertainer's mind. One could be just ending clean. That's like the first one, just ending clean. I have to think about it. It's still in certain effects, not all. It can be just in the deck, and if someone wants to examine the cards, or like you just truly don't end clean, then that could be one bad thing on the entertainer's mind they always have to keep conscious of. Having to remove it out of play on an offbeat, that could just be another aspect of ending clean, amongst others. Another is ringing it in and out. So again, ringing it out, trying to remove it secretly, or just making sure it ends clean. You casually pocket it. Ringing it in, when you start the effect, you're like, oh, I have to get the gaff, or oh, I have to get set in place, and it's always having to be one step ahead. I know it's in respect to your show, but also it's something to keep mindful of. Not having to think about it, being a purist, not having to worry about any of it in certain effects, and incorporates certain effects where you may just want to go purist, and others where you might want to do a gaff. Flashing, there's my chance you might offhandedly flash a gaff. I don't know which effect to apply to, but there's always that. Maybe thumb tips as an example, I guess, though I love the work. And then examination, again, you can be doing the effect, and if something's awry, or spectator is just a heckler and they try to get on your case for no reason, even though you've done nothing wrong, it just makes it that much harder to be able to hand out the thing or continue the effect, rather, because it could just be byplay. They just want to check you out and make sure. So that adds to the idea of maybe initially wanting to do purist effects, or just like an opener, then do some purist effects, and then do gaff work in one way, because there's that level where they can start judging. Who knows? Second pro for being a purist in whatever you do, cards, coins, etc., cups and balls, is it lands you into being creative through limitation. I say this with an example, and I know some people won't get this, but imagine having a camera lens, but we always assume there is, a zoom where you can zoom in and out. But there are many lenses, and I say this for non-camera people, where it's set at one focal length, and that's it. But at that one focal length, it can do really good. It can let in more light. It can do many other things. So it's just set that one thing, and you can only see from this distance. That is it. But through this, you have to be creative. Like, I can only do it this way? Okay, I got to be creative in creating that shot, in that shot. And in Magic, going back to Magic, hope that wasn't too crazy of an example. In Magic, it allows us to push the ball forward in being creative. Maybe we go creative and we move the ball forward in an effect. As they say, the old wisdom that magicians will stay forever. Uh, standing on the shoulders of giants, those who have created the effects before us. And I would hope that their hope, the ones before us, that hope that we can take it to the next level and truly make it even more impressive to what their standards were, and keep on going up. And it could be in whatever context. Sure, it could be with gaffs or it could be purist, but if it was to be improved through just sleight of hand, that's a huge advantage, and it just makes us more creative. Another example is, not all of it has to be through sleights, through being a purist. It could also be through just ruses. Is your card a cherry-colored card? They say no. Black cherry? Ha! Is just a loose example of one of them. And there's many other ways to go about it, but it's not just being a purist. There's many different levels. Sleight of mouth. You could be clever. Once you're in that zone, and when you're through the zone, then you start to adapt and then try to expand, knowing you're just in the zone. You don't have that area of gaffs to depend on. And then also, let me see what I wrote. Improve gaff level effects, clever sleights. And then creating new sleights to be able to adapt to the situation where it didn't exist before. And there's the ones before us we stand on and we see something we didn't like, but we got the idea, the general idea, and we just really improve it. And then we could also improve gaff effects. This is what I was referring to in the notes. Is that there are some effects that you see with a gaff, and they do the effect, sure, but it doesn't improve the effect in any way. It makes it more difficult because you even have to bring it in and out through the previous one. And honestly, like here's an example. I'll just say it. There's this effect called Sleeve Star. Yeah, there's like a DVD that used to come out. It was called Sleeve Star, and it was a decent DVD. It got pretty good overall reviews. But I didn't understand the whole need of the gaff because for the effects he was doing. So he wanted to transfer a coin invisibly from here to here, the other hand, invisibly. And I just looked at the effect and I thought it was really could be just done with sleights and not be any more difficult, not add any more hassle, and you end cleaner because you don't have to worry about the gaff at all. I'm like, okay. So I created the effect and I published it. It's in one of the videos. I might link it. And overall, I got the same effect, but just without the gaff. So that's just the creativity you can do and just doing it in that zone. And to the final point of being a purist in whatever you do in Magic, and then we'll jump into gaffs because there's some really good pros on that, is you impress your fellow magicians with your gaff level, so your gaff level sleight of hand. If you're able to impress them through a ruse or being creative or however you get away with just being a purist in your methods, and they can't see anything, you've impressed them, and then that adds a whole level of pride to whatever you do. Cue Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins. But it just there is a great overall thing, and some people can say, wow, I can't see anything. And yes, you could do that with gaffs, but it just feels a little bit better if I'm allowed for the pride, just knowing you could just do it with just your skill. That's kind of cool. So jumping into the gaff side, the pros of gaffs that are undeniable, they're there, and they have some advantages. Eric Jones said it best, there are just some effects, and this would be the point one, some effects that just can only be accomplished or just made through the use of gaffs. Outside of the use of, let's say, stage effects or David Copperfield stuff, some effects are just made easier or possible through the use of gaffs. So it's just like pushing that limit of, I really want this impossible effect, and normal sleight of hand can't really compare to it, or it's really, really difficult, and just gaffs makes it easier. One example is Dean Dill's explosion effect. I'm not sure if anyone's ever seen it, but it's just where he has the coins jump from hand to hand. It looks impossible, and at the end he gives a wave and like 12 coins are produced. Now, to be able to hide 12 coins normally would be pretty dang difficult, especially on your hands. Try imagining that and then trying to work around that. And through the use of gaffs, they've made it a little bit easier. And just the whole effect is possible. And I'm currently working on renovating that effect. Rest in peace, Dean Dill. You were awesome. And that is an undeniable advantage for Gaffs, is just some effects are made possible. Q in Eric Jones's DVD 3 and 4. Great DVDs. Highly recommend them. And then number two reason for Gaffs is cleaner looking effect. And I wrote in here like a Raven example. Okay, we will. The Raven is there, but that will not be the core example. But just the way the effects are accomplished, it just looks so much cleaner. You don't have to struggle as much. You could just get away with it, and just looks, the whole presentation of it. Yes, you could do it through sleight of hand, but maybe you have to do a ruse. Maybe you have to do something extra to be able to get to the same level. Whereas it's very direct, just to use a gaff and just be done with it. So just the cleaner effect really, really adds to it. And then the final reason or benefit for gaffs, and these are just 3 reasons. I know there's many, many more, but these are the 3 main reasons why I look at the trade-offs of each when I consider using one or another to accomplish an effect. And for number 3 is it adds that layer of impossibility. You know, you can maybe, if for any magician who's on the inside or a spectator who knows a bit, you know, they're not adapted or aware of, or would even be aware of, the use of something extra to be able to make something possible. It's, you know, they would assume maybe a level playing field, and they can maybe assume something, but then with the gaffs, it removes that layer of where they can perceive it, and then it creates this layer of possibility where they can't go beyond. It's like, wow, I am blown away. So for certain spectators, it works. It just adds it. And others, they examine the gaff. So you have to really be acutely aware of whether you should be a purist and they're burning you on your purism, or you use gaffs and they're burning if they want to examine it. It's a really fine line as a magician, and that's a pro and con for both. So I think ultimately, you know, there's trade-offs each, and I think there is a benefit to using both. They're like ultimately using both, but in a very conscious sense and for the right effect. Not just using and assuming, just like, I got a rubber mallet, I could assume it for every tool, but then there's finer tools that get the job done, like a specific kind of hammer or whatever, to just one strike, you got the nail in, let's just say, as an example. And it just, you know, there's just advantages to each, and I want people to be conscious of them when choosing it. And I ultimately want to ask you, what is your preference? Do you have a preference for being a purist or a gaff, and what's your personal reasons? Maybe some might even explain in the sheet. But sheet of paper. But all that said, I wish everyone a wonderful day, and I hope this video was helpful to you in at least inspiring a little bit of the noggin to, you know, say, I want to become better at being a purist, or I really want to break out that gaff I haven't been using. So ultimately, it's just for fun, and I just want everyone to be consciously thinking of how to improve their magic and make it the best it can possibly be. Oh, and if you haven't checked out this video, or possibly this video, definitely check it out. See you guys soon.